Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you don't already know, my name is Lesego Rankou, and on this channel it's all about learning, growth and contribution. Now this is our last video on the Mastering Accounting series, and I found it very fitting that obviously I need to leave you guys with some study tips for you to pass your exams. Now exams are such a touchy kind of time and everybody is very emotional around exam time, but I hope these study tips can equip you in order for you to maximize your learning potential and to also get the best out of your own studies. Now, I've mentioned this before that number one, I feel like the best study tip that I can tell you is to give whatever you are studying enough time. Now, for me, what I translate that is saying that I need to commit 100% to that thing that I'm studying, right? So for something like an accounting degree, obviously there's different fundamentals in there. There's financial reporting, there's auditing, there's management accounting, there's also tax. And so each one needs its own time. But one thing that I found very useful is doing a lot of past papers. Now, past papers get you into the habit of doing exams. And also when I did my past papers, I needed to remember that it's not about knowing everything. It's about, can I apply what I know practically? And do I understand the testing technique that the lecturers are looking for or that I'm supposed to achieve at the end? Because yes, any syllabus is quite vast, especially if we start the year in January and finish it off in November. Obviously, there's a lot to cover and not everything can be asked. But if you have been doing things in a very practical way under exam conditions, you start realizing, okay, around exam times, this is what they focus on, because some things are more foundational and are more for your understanding as opposed to that being a question in the exam. So don't shy away from doing a lot of past papers. And when you do your past papers, you need to do them under exam conditions. Now, exam conditions I think is a very important key into the study tips. Right now, I bought myself a clock when I was in university because I knew that in any exam venue there was a clock that I used to look at. And so for me, I had like a desk clock that was very tiny. I bought it from China Mall, and basically that would help me in answering my questions because I knew to allocate 1.5 minute per mark. So if, for example, there is a question that is out of 30 marks, I know that I needed to take 30 times 1.5, 45 minutes in order for me to write down this question. And that technique, that strategy is better exercised if you are doing exams under exam condition. You need to also set the mood, be able to understand and identify what is my mind doing when the clock starts, because sometimes you go in a panic, but if you build the confidence over time, you start being calm in under exam conditions. You also start talking to yourself differently and you don't spend so much time in distraction trying to think, oh my gosh, this question is too hard. How am I going to get through this, right? And you also need to write down at a desk. I feel like even today, I feel like I wanted to bring out my desk because I wanted to show you that when I'm being very serious about life, I do it on a desk. And so you cannot do your exams on your bed or like randomly at a restaurant or at a Starbucks because you're trying to look cool, right? You need to be able to understand that you're going to be writing in a setting that is going to be quiet. And so the way you need to practice has to be at a desk with your stationery in a quiet space, making sure that you are in the mood of writing an exam. You also again need to pay attention to your thoughts. I know, for example, when the clock started, I would go in a panic, right? And I think that only became better once I kept practicing more past papers. So your confidence is going to come in the number of times you do past papers. So don't be deceived if you do one and you feel like you can do it. Try to do multiple ones so that you can identify the different things that they're asking. Another important thing is that you need to plan your answer. Now, I used to go into my exams with a blank piece of paper, and I used to do mind maps so that if I knew a question is 30 marks, that's 45 minutes. What is the game plan? Put a mind map, draw my little cloud, write down the descriptive words. So if it said comment on this thing or discuss this thing, what does discuss mean? You need to talk about it, highlight all the important things, right? If they say calculate calculate and explain. I know there's supposed to be some numerics there, but there's also like a explanation that is explaining the calculation, because some people like putting down the calculation and they forget to comment. So make sure that you understand the entirety of the required, and making sure that through the plan you can sift through to understand what is going to be relevant, what is not relevant, because your plan is just that, it's a plan, it's not the actual answer. When you start putting that into paper, that's where you need to be logical. You need to make sure that you're going through with the presentation. What did they ask? Did you address what is being asked? And again, that confidence, that momentum comes with doing a lot of past papers. You need to also mark yourself as strictly as possible. This is not the time for you to look at your response and say, yeah, this one now I was going to get, This is where you need to actually mark yourself as if you are a very strict lecturer. And the reason for that is because you also need to see where you don't understand. You also need to see where you are missing things, right? So if you mark yourself strictly, even if you got it partially right, rather say you got it wrong, so that you don't forget about it, so that you also implement whatever that thing that you were supposed to get, right? That you're supposed to cement in your mind, that you finally understand it, and that it's actually landing in your mind. So don't convince yourself that you know. When you are doubtful, consult, right? And doing a lot of past papers opens up consultation for you, because you start seeing where are my gaps, where do I need to potentially discuss this with my lecturer or with my tutor or with my teacher, right? And again, this is not just for accounting. These are study tips that I feel like are practical and are applicable to all your other degrees. So even if you are studying law, for example, it's very theoretical. You need to remember case studies. You need to remember certain things that happen. So you will have a lot of notes that are handwritten, but your memory needs to serve you well. But memory is only going to be stimulated if you do it consistently, if you instill repetition in how you are disciplined and how you carry out your study plan and how you mark yourself when you do get something wrong. Another thing that is not just so much about the work in itself, your diet matters. Your diet, the food that you're eating around exam time, is very important. This is not the time where you eat and indulge magwinya and you gotta let it go. Wait until your exams are over. You need to stock up on a lot of fresh foods, fresh fruits and fresh vegetables. Make sure that you are drinking a lot of water. You are not overindulging in snacks, because stress makes you want to crave a lot of sugary things. But if you are drinking enough water, you are staying hydrated, especially when it's this hot in South Africa. I mean, I understand that exams are always at the end of the year when you are really, really tired, but this is where you need to bump up on your supplements. I used to take a lot of vitamin B complex, as well as BioPlus, as well as any multivitamin. And I feel like it's important for me to say I'm not a medical practitioner. So disclaimer, if you are not somebody that's privy to supplements, don't try to be a superhero and take it for the first time when you are writing an exam. Make sure that during your exam prep, when you are doing the past papers, try different supplements and see how your body responds to them, so that you can actually stay alert and stay active. There are other supplements that can be used, but those are my cheats, my vitamin B complex, as well as my BioPlus. You also need to sleep, right? This is something that I feel like a lot of students like doing around exam time. They want to cross night. They want to like study throughout the night, and then they expect their bodies to be awake when they supposed to be in the mood. But you need to remember that you write your exam during the day. So for me, when I was studying, I used to make sure that in the morning, so from 8 until 12, I'm potentially doing a past paper, and then I would take a break, have lunch quickly, and then come mark myself, then take another break, then understand that I can continue at that pace, right? Because it's not about you have to now keep studying 24/7 just because you're writing exams. I know there's this false narrative that I feel like coming from, I want to say, a millennium background, like your family would tell you need to study all day, every day. It doesn't work, right? You need to build in rest. within your studies so that your brain is also active and that your brain is also not overwhelmed and just overstimulated by a lot of information, but you're not also allowing your brain to process the things that you were doing during the day. So I feel like taking regular breaks is very important, and especially when you are studying multiple subjects at once. The last thing that I want to say is make sure that you have your stationery and everything that you need when you are writing the exam. I think for the most part, some of us stress ourselves over like irrelevant things. Like, this is not the time to be stressing that I don't have a certain textbook, or I don't have certain stationery, I don't have a highlighter. Get whatever you need to get out of the way. Like, make sure that you have enough pens, right? And I don't know why people did this, but there was this one guy who, it's a long time ago, but I'll never forget this because I was just so confused. I'm like, my guy, he's going around, right? And he's looking for a pencil. He's looking for a pencil. And I'm trying very hard not to judge, but I'm thinking to myself, how are you looking for a pencil on the day of exams when you know you are going to write an exam and that you're going to need a pencil? So also give yourself a fighting chance. Don't allow yourself to stress about irrelevant things. Like, why would you, a few minutes before the exam, be stressing around because nobody has an extra pencil for you, right? So make sure that you have all your stationery, all your highlighters. Use a lot of colors. If you don't understand the type of learner that you are, I'm going to link my video up here so that you can also see how you can maximize the different study strategies depending on the type of learner that you are. But study tips go hand in hand with remembering what you've also done during the year, right? Don't deviate from the things that you've learned or the techniques and the tips that your teachers, your lecturers have imparted on you. Those people know what they're doing, and they might have hinted during lectures that this is what we're going to be focusing on in the exams. And that's why it's very important to also discuss your study approach or what you're studying with different students in case you missed something. But also consult, right? Because I don't think people want to see us fail. I just think that we don't give ourselves enough fighting chance and enough time to actually process and understand the thing that we're studying. Because when you look back at the end of the day, this is all for you, right? You writing exams is all for you. You're not doing this for your parents. You're not doing this for your lecturers. You're not doing this for anyone but yourself. Because if you don't do well, you have to repeat. And it's such a difficult lesson to learn. But honestly, there is no point in moving towards the next level of life when you haven't succeeded in the past level. So also understand that when you don't perform well in an exam, it's not a reflection of your identity. It's also a wake-up call for you to invest more time in the thing that you didn't do well in. And I feel like this is so true for me, because that's what I thought when I didn't pass my exams for the first time ever. That how did you fail an academic year? I made it so about me. I blamed the support schools. I blamed my lecturers. I blamed so many people. But when I looked back, I realized that I wasn't as invested. I was just so distracted. I was so in doubt. And one thing that is surrounding exams is also the anxiety, the pressure, and the fear around not passing. But if you work towards passing, decide already before you even walk into that test room or that exam room that I am going to pass. So when you practice, when you are planning towards how you're passing. You need to stress about how well you're going to pass, not if I'm going to pass. And that's why it's important to have been consistent throughout the year. But I hope these study tips, along with the 3 other videos that I've posted on mastering accounting, have helped you in your journey. And I wish you nothing but the best with your exams. And just like that, we are done with an accounting series. And with my next videos, I'll be focusing more on my faith-based content. And I'm going to tell you, this is something that I've been wanting to do, but I think I've been so nervous about like going into my Bible and showing you guys how my relationship with God has been. The same way that there've been a lot of changes throughout this year that I wasn't necessarily open to speak about. But I think you will understand that for somebody like me, I want to be as accessible. And when I say accessible, I don't want you to hear me teach and think, oh, it's because you're great, that's why you can teach like this. You don't understand what I'm going through. So I want to be very vulnerable and show you that there's a lot of inner work that happens for me to get on this side, where I have the confidence to know that if I release a certain sound onto someone's life, they can apply it, they can understand that I've also been through it. I'm not speaking on research that I'm just doing on the internet or things that I'm just learning about. These are things that I've had to walk through, that I have to go through. And if I can equip you and give you the tools that can steward you into the right direction, by all means, God, let your will be done on this earth as it is in heaven. But otherwise, don't forget to like this video. I'd be honored if you liked, comment, shared, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.